And welcome back to Monroe Monday. On this Monday, December the 27th, we have with us Congressman James Comer, and we'll continue the interview with him. I want to go back to the border. Of course, I'm a Republican, but, you know, I believe in what's right, whether it's Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever. If you're doing right, do right. Uh, but when Trump was in office, he was building a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he was building that wall was to make sure that they were coming across the border legally.
Right.
He didn't want them not to come across the
Right.
border. He wanted them to come across just like anything. When you go to an installation somewhere that's got a fence,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want you crossing that fence. They want you to go to the gate
Right.
and come through that gate.
Exactly.
That's the reason why he built it.
That's
Or was
right.
built. So is that wall still being built,
No.
or is it stopped?
That was the first thing Joe Biden did when he took the oath of office. He halted construction of the border wall, which I think is unconstitutional because Congress had already appropriated the funds to build the wall. The contracts had already been awarded to the firms to construct the wall. The building material for the wall has already been purchased. I saw it in New Mexico. There are sites all up and down the border with all this wall material laying on the ground with construction equipment halted there, and the government's paying security guards to sit there and guard it so illegals don't steal it, because metal's pretty high right now and the wall's made of metal. It's the dumbest thing that I've ever seen. We're a part of lawsuits trying to challenge the legality of halting that by executive order, which is what he didn't pass a bill through Congress to stop construction of the border wall. Congress passed a bill to build the border wall. He just by executive order halted it. And there's no reason in the world to do that. You are, as President of the United States, your responsibility is to protect the people. He's given speeches over the weekend, Biden is, about the border between China and Taiwan, the border between Russia and Ukraine. What about our border? Our border is in crisis, and I've been there. Kamala Harris has not. She's supposed to be the border czar. And the only reason I can figure they're letting people come in here is for political gain, for new potential voters to come in. And that's terrible. That's unconstitutional. It's illegal. And I think it's going to be a big issue in the next election. People need to realize there are 2,000 people a day crossing that border illegally. Population of Monroe County is 11,500 people. So every 6 days, the entire population of Monroe County worth of people is coming across that border illegally. And that adds up. You multiply that times a year, and then times 4 years, if nothing's done about it, that's several states. Right now, it's estimated there are 10 million illegals in the United States. The population of Kentucky is 4.5 million, so that's 2.5 times the population of the entire state of Kentucky is in the United States illegally right now.
Now, when they cross the border there, when they cross the gate, or they come, we're talking two different things, I guess.
Right.
We're talking some that are crossing. Are they crossing at the border?
Yeah.
And not legally.
There's no wall in miles and miles and miles of border. There's no wall. And when Trump was president, they were building the wall, but there was still miles and miles and miles, especially through New Mexico and Arizona, where there was no wall. But he had Border Patrol agents constantly going up and down, flying that border in helicopters, looking for people with night vision goggles. If they see somebody, then they would send them in and arrest them. They're not doing that now. So the illegals know that. So if you know the odds of you getting arrested are slim to none, you're going to cross that border. And look, there are a lot of people crossing that border that are desperate, that want a better future. I understand that. But there's also a lot of drugs being smuggled across the border. There's a lot of human trafficking taking place across that border. So there's nothing good happening by not securing the southern border between the United States and Mexico.
So is the Border Patrol even stopping anybody?
Yeah, they're stopping a few, but like I said earlier, Biden's got their hands tied, and then he's stopped the policy, return to Mexico policy that was implemented by Trump. We filed suit against that and won, actually. So now you have to return them back to Mexico if you arrest them, if they're adults. If they're children, you can't, and that's a problem. That's why there's so many kids being thrown across the border by desperate parents. Because once a kid crosses that border, they're going to be in the United States the rest of their life if they want to be, and they're going to be on the American taxpayer's dime. They may, when they become adults, work and pay taxes, but while they're a child, their housing's paid for, their food's paid for, their clothing's paid for, their education's paid for, and I don't think people that are struggling, barely getting by, appreciate that with their tax dollars. So that's just a lot of bad policy coming out of the Biden administration with respect to the border, and it's only making America a more dangerous place. It's making America a more place unstable from a democratic standpoint. And I hope that, again, the American people will take that seriously when they vote in the November election, because border security will be one of the most important issues in the next election.
Well, where are the illegals going? I mean, when
they're going to the cities mainly, and they've got family here. They're reuniting with family. A lot of them are going into the workforce. There's a shortage of workers, so you've got a lot of employers in America that are hiring these illegals, and the penalty for hiring illegals needs to be stricter, and it needs to be enforced more. And that's where a lot of turning a blind eye is taking place right now, because there are a lot of employers that have these illegals, and nothing's being done. If you're an employer and you need workers, and you're not going to get in trouble for hiring illegals, then you're going to hire more illegals, and that's going to create a situation where more people are going to want to go across that border in the United States. And the day I was at the Border Patrol detention facility in El Paso, Texas, that week they had people in there from 25 different countries. 25 different countries. So it's not just Mexico, and it's not just Central America. There's people from Asia and Africa that are crossing the ocean on a boat and then walking up through Mexico across the border to the United States so they can, find a job. And there are people that end up on welfare. There are people that end up in jail. There are people that end up selling drugs. But most people are crossing that border trying to find a job, and it's just. But along the way, they're stealing things, they're vandalizing things, they need food, they're killing farm animals and field dressing them in the fields. We saw that when we were in New Mexico, and it's just terrible. It's terrible for the landowners. It's terrible for the residents on the border. Terrible for the American taxpayers, and it's a shame that Joe Biden continues to turn a blind eye on border security.
When the same goes for, we're going back to the COVID deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how rampant it is in Mexico.
Right.
But, here we are in America. We're trying to fight a pandemic.
Right.
And we've got people coming in by the droves.
Yep.
We're trying to keep people out from other countries. We're trying to keep us from going to other countries with this COVID. But then we're just let people run rampant.
Right. Yeah.
We
that's
don't know
right.
what they've got.
Those.
I have no problem with people from other countries.
Right. But there's a legal way to get here.
Yeah.
We help people all the time in our office that apply for citizenship. There's a legal process, and again, look at Donald Trump. His wife came over here legally. She wasn't born in the United States, so there's a legal process. But when you let 12,000 people a day cross that border, none of them have been vaccinated, or if any have been vaccinated, it's a handful out of 12,000. But then you're putting all these restrictions on Americans when you've got this southern border wide open. Oh, you can't fly into here. You can't go to school this week. You can't play. Your kids can't play basketball for 2 weeks. But the southern border, these people that are infected with COVID, they can cross the border and they can do anything they want. It's why nobody has any confidence in Fauci and nobody has any confidence in Joe Biden when you talk about COVID now. And that's why, as I said earlier, we've got to get new faces to be the face of any pandemic in the future, because nobody has confidence in Dr. Fauci or Joe Biden when they talk about COVID right now.
You know, we have hospitals overrun right now, and, you know, places, you know, a lot of people are dying just because they can't go to a, not necessarily better facility, but a higher ranked facility. Right. You know, the ventilators are overrun. Yep. They don't have enough ventilators. You know, what do you do?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's just a problem. The whole history is going to show that it wasn't handled very well from start to finish, and I think that we're going to have to, again, have a new team come in and say, all right, in the future, this is how we handle the next pandemic. This is how, because, look, our enemies like China and Russia, they've seen how much damage can be done to the American economy and the American people with a pandemic. And I think in the future, I don't think wars are going to be fought the traditional way with tanks and planes and submarines. I think they're going to be fought with cybersecurity hacks and bio attacks, to where, you know, there's things like viruses released into the atmosphere, and that's, to me, where we're vulnerable as a nation, and we're going to have a better plan moving forward.
All right, anything else you'd like to speak on?
No, I appreciate the invitation to come by today, and if anybody ever wants to come by and talk about current events or ask me questions, feel free to give me a call. I'm in the Tompkinsville office a lot, or you can call Sandy Simpson or anybody that works for me, and we'll try to chat again tomorrow from 1 to 4. We'll be at the courthouse if people want to come by and talk and meet some of our team. We may have a few from Washington that are going to be there tomorrow too. So hopefully everybody can see what goes on, and I just appreciate the opportunity to be the representative in Congress for the people of Monroe County.
Now, are you going to have a question and answer period tomorrow?
If somebody wants, we can. I mean, we can do that. It just depends on, I don't know how many people are going to be there. We invited Monroe County, Allen County, Metcalfe County, and Cumberland County. Of course, it's Christmas week, and, you know, a lot of people, I don't know, they see me a lot, so they may not really want to go, but I do it every year, and I used to have town halls, and town halls got to be in, there's this group that would monitor, this liberal group that would monitor anytime a Republican had a town hall, and they would send a bunch of liberal crazy people from Nashville or Louisville down to my town halls, and they got to be kind of poop shows. So I quit doing the traditional town halls, and we have more things like this where it's informal, people can talk and things like that. It's the town halls were being taken over by people with purple hair and nose rings, and you know, they didn't look like they grew up in Bug Tussle or Acresville. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, Congressman, we appreciate you coming in, and Sandy in the limelight there. Like you said, she's in Monroe County. Of course, Congressman Comer is too. And appreciate you coming in tomorrow, 1 to 4 at the courthouse, a meet and greet. Got any questions for his team or himself, just come up to the courthouse, and we'll be